Have you ever started a race full of energy, going all out, and suddenly, as if something hit you, you're out of strength? Did you know that initial burst, which seems like an advantage, can actually be your worst enemy? Picture yourself crossing the finish line with energy while others deflate halfway. The difference is in what you do in those first few minutes. Do you want to know the secret to avoid that brutal crash and run stronger? Let's find out. Do you know one of the most common mistakes in races? That moment when the starting gun fires and your body screams, "Go!" It's now or never, and you obey. You start off at full speed, filled with adrenaline and excitement, convinced you can keep that pace for the whole race. But here's the catch that many don't know. That initial burst isn't your friend. It's a trap. When you start too fast, your body goes into high alert. Your muscles begin burning energy at an uncontrolled rate. Your heart races more than necessary, and your breathing becomes short and ragged. It's like flooring the gas pedal in a car that still has many miles to go. It's not sustainable. As you continue, you start feeling it. Heavy legs, burning chest, and your mind, which just a moment ago was confident about finishing strong, begins to doubt. And the result? You burn out too early, your energy is drained, and if you keep that pace, the finish line becomes almost impossible. So, why is it so easy to fall into this trap? The answer is simple: adrenaline. Everyone around you starts running fast, and your natural instinct is to match their pace. The excitement of the moment makes you think you can handle it all, until reality hits, and you realize that's not the case. So, what can you do to avoid this fatal mistake? Don't worry, because in the next section, I'm going to give you the exact strategies you need to stay in control from the very first step. I'll show you how to start smart and avoid letting that initial energy play tricks on you. Ready to learn how to master the start of a race and finish stronger? Let's dive in. Tip 1. Mindset is everything. Before you start, ask yourself, are you running to impress others or to reach your best? When you find yourself surrounded by runners who take off as if there's no tomorrow, remember, the race is yours, not theirs. You have to run at your own pace, and that means having the discipline to ignore the speed of those around you. Every time you see someone passing you in those early minutes, remember this: many of them won't finish as strong as you will. Patience is the key to winning the race, or at least to finishing at your best. Tip 2. Controlled pace is the key. Think of your first kilometers as an investment. At the start, you don't need to give it 100%. In fact, it's best to begin at 80% of your capacity. This gives you room to keep your breathing steady and avoid your muscles saturating with lactic acid too early. How do you know if you're at 80%? If you can speak without gasping, you're good. So, instead of launching like it's a 100-meter sprint, start as if you're warming up. Remember, a race is a journey of endurance, not a sprint. Tip 3. Use technology to your advantage. If you have a GPS watch or any device to track your pace, it's your best ally. At the start, set a target pace, one that you know you can comfortably maintain. Technology is there to help you control those initial impulses. Also, pay attention to how your body feels. If your legs are going too fast and your breathing gets short, it's a clear sign to slow down a bit. Don't let the excitement fool you. Trust both technology and your sensations. Remember, the goal is not just to finish, but to finish strong. These strategies will not only help you control that first impulse, but also give you the energy needed to give it your all at the end, when it really matters. Picture yourself moving with power while others fall behind, exhausted from starting too fast. That's what we want to achieve. Ready to put this into practice? In the next part, I'll tell you how I applied these tips in my last race and how they helped me stay strong until the end. Last Sunday, I took part in a pretty special race, La Conquista de la Almendra, and it was quite the conquest. It's the first time it was held in Vitoria-Gasteiz, right in the city's historic center. Imagine a 5-kilometer circuit surrounded by cobbled streets and tons of hills. A route that combines the beauty of the old town with a tough physical challenge. There were 2 categories, 5K, 1 lap, and 10K, which was 2 full laps of that circuit. I went for the 10K, and trust me, it wasn't a walk in the park. This kind of terrain makes you think carefully about your strategy from the start, especially if you want to avoid burning out on those first hills. As soon as the starting gun fired, the energy was insane. Everyone around me seemed to be in a 100-meter sprint, flying downhill as if the race would end just around the corner. My adrenaline was sky high, and honestly, my body wanted to do the same, to fly forward and match that frantic pace. But this time, I remembered how important it is not to get carried away by the impulse. I started feeling that internal tension, like a small battle between my body and my mind. On one hand, I wanted to speed up and keep up with the leaders, but on the other, I knew that if I wanted to finish strong, I had to stay in control. So I focused on my own pace, letting others pass me on those first hills. I saw them going by, but I kept telling myself the real test would come later. In the end, the key was not burning out in those first kilometers. As I moved through the race, I applied all those tips we know work but can be hard to follow in the heat of the moment. First, I focused on my own mindset. I reminded myself that this race was mine, that I was running at my own pace, and that it didn't matter if others were going faster at that moment. Every time I saw someone pass me on those hills, I told myself, stay calm. This is your pace. The real challenge comes in the last kilometers. The second tip I followed was keeping a controlled pace. I made sure to start at 80% of my capacity, breathing steadily and not overworking my muscles. The hills and cobblestones were a real challenge, but I knew if I could keep control early on, I'd have more energy for those final kilometers. I felt the urge to speed up on the downhills, but I stuck firmly to my strategy. I also used my watch to track my pace and made sure the excitement didn't take me off my plan. If I noticed my breathing getting too quick or my legs tightening up, I slowed down a bit, focusing on technique and staying in control. Technology was a great reminder that I wasn't in a speed race, but in an endurance test. And finally, the moment of truth came, the last stretch. I noticed that many of the runners who started fast were now exhausted, struggling to keep their pace on those final hills. That's when I felt the reward of my strategy. My body still had energy, and I was able to speed up, passing several runners who had overtaken me at the start. It was an amazing feeling to cross the finish line with strength, knowing I'd managed my pace and energy well. Finishing a race like that is a huge difference, with the sense that you could have kept going a little longer. Now, what's the real benefit of staying in control from the beginning? When you start at a sustainable pace and avoid the initial impulse, you not only reach the end with more strength but also enjoy the race a lot more. Instead of suffering and counting down the meters, you find yourself with energy in those last kilometers, even able to speed up and overtake others. Also, by controlling your pace, you reduce the risk of injury or extreme fatigue that can ruin the experience. It allows you to cross the finish line feeling great, with the satisfaction of having run smartly. And you know what's the best part? With each race where you apply this strategy, you build your endurance and your ability to pace yourself in future competitions. It's like training both body and mind at the same time. So, the next time you hear the starting gun, remember, you don't need to sprint off as if someone's chasing you. Start strong, but not too strong. Keep your pace steady, and you'll see how that initial energy you save becomes your advantage at the end. Train smart, but also train your strategy. The real victory is in finishing with strength. And that's it. Now it's your turn to try these tips in your next race. Have you ever run out of energy by starting too fast? Tell me in the comments and share your experience. Don't forget to subscribe for more running tips and activate the notification bell so you don't miss a single video. See you next time, and remember, every race is a new chance to get stronger.